Open a channel. It's in-depth trick.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 8 of the In-Depth Trek podcast. Today we'll be discussing season 1 episode 7 of Eye of the Needle. But just before we do, I just want to let everyone know with a little plan that I've come up with. So what I'm going to be doing is, after season 1's completed and we've got all the episodes up ready for everyone to listen to, I'm going to be taking a short break from creating the podcast episodes. Now, I'm not taking a break from the podcast entirely, but what I'm going to be doing is taking a break from actually uploading. As we get closer to the end of the season, the first season, I'll have a sort of more solid time frame on how long that'll be. But that's going to be so I can take the notes for the entirety of season 2 and try my best to get them out a lot quicker. Whether that's going to actually happen or not, I don't know. But at the moment, as you kind of are aware, if you listen to this podcast at any sort of frequency, you'll know that I just do this for fun. I'm not really after views or money or anything. I mean, I do have options to get money, but that's not what I'm like. I would have just stopped doing it by now, but I do it anyway. So yeah, I just thought I would update you with that anyway. So getting straight back into the show, today we're going to be talking about Season 1 Episode 7, which is Eye of the Needle. So we're starting off with another captain's log, and the stardate is currently 48579.4, and apparently the crew is scanning for shortcuts home. Kim thinks he might have found a wormhole. I don't know if you could hear that, but Kim thinks that he found a wormhole. The crew is hopeful that it is a wormhole, and Tuvok's quick to point out that there's about a 75% chance that the wormhole won't lead back to the Alpha Quadrant. And this instantly raised the question for me, do wormholes in Star Trek only lead to the galaxy that they originate in? Or was this a mild oversight from the writers, I don't know if that was something that was thought about, or if they're just kind of, there's an in-law, in-universe explanation as to why that is. Yeah, it just kind of got me thinking, so if a wormhole originates in the Milky Way galaxy, can that wormhole only exit in the Milky Way galaxy as well? I don't know, it just seems a bit unusual to me. Obviously, the scale of a galaxy is incomprehensible to many, many, if not all, people, really. But yeah, it just got me thinking. Anyway, Janeway is quick to reassure herself and the crew that whilst Tuvok's correct, there's a 75% chance the wormhole won't lead back to the Alpha Quadrant. There's a 25% chance that it could lead home. So I guess we'll just roll with it from this point on, because the crew seem to think that this is the case, so I guess we will as well. Kim says they need to be close up in order to get more information on the wormhole, so Janeway authorises a detour towards the wormhole, and Tom and Janeway show support to Kim in this. Tom states that if they pull this off, that the wormhole should be called the Harry Kim wormhole, which is quite hilarious. Anyway, this is where the intro is, so yeah. So, intro's over with, and we're now at the wormhole, but nothing can be seen on the main screen. So Janeway orders the highest magnification on screen, and it turns out the wormhole's 30 centimetres wide, which is obviously too small for the ship just to slide through. Tuvok says they could send a message through it instead, so Tuvok launches a microprobe. Janeway says the wormhole's in an advanced state of decay and may even be centuries old, which is pretty cool, it's building up the universe to the point where, things have been going on for literally hundreds of years that we don't know about, and I do like that sort of, the small details that they bring into that. So Tom picks up energy readings and the probe becomes stuck and there's no way to get it out, so Janeway opts to wait, but the probe is then scanned. Apparently there's someone on the other side of the wormhole that is obviously scanning it. So now we jump to sickbay, and the doctor's training Kes as a crew member comes in with a minor injury. Kes treats the injury, which turns out to be a fractured wrist. After some back and forth between the doctor and Kes, the doctor knows what it is. He's just trying to train Kes up to see if she can actually ascertain what it is. The crew member seems hostile towards the doctor, and people, in my opinion, still really aren't quite used to having a holographic doctor. And Kes points this out to the doctor, but the doctor himself still views himself as a piece of equipment, as not many people treat him like a person anywhere. So I think we're back on the bridge now, and Kim says that the probe has been scanned at least 4 times, and B'Elanna says the probe is still embedded, but it will be crushed in 72 hours. Janeway opts to use the probe as a relay to send a message through to the other side, which wouldn't there have done that anyway? I don't really understand this. I believe this is in like the ready room where all the senior officers are. Anyway, not the bridge. Tuvok and Janeway really seem like old friends, and I wish they'd dive deeper into that. The chemistry is just like, you can tell that they enjoyed working together in the show. Like, it was really cool to watch. So B'Elanna believes that the people back home haven't given up on the crew. This is in engineering now. I distinctly remember this scene. Yeah, people haven't given up on the crew of Voyager yet, as they haven't really been gone all that long, which is true. I think it's a month or 2 by this point. I wonder if actually the Marquis would have been pardoned if they managed to get home this early on, like they are in the books after the finale of Voyager. Speaking of the books, there's some really good continuations of the series. I do remember an audio book being, like a cassette tape being bundled with a book, and the audio book, which was just an abridged version of the book, was actually read by Kate Mulgrew, and that was pretty cool. It was like a Voyager sort of story. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And there's some not so good ones as well, which we can always skip over, like where Janeway's killed and Q revives her. That's not a particularly good one. I can't remember the names of them though, because it's been that long. Kim seems to miss home, and B'Elanna reassures him that it is going to work. They are going to get the message through the wormhole. And it's at this point we learn B'Elanna has never seen her father since she was 5, and she didn't really get along with her mother all that well, and she claims that the Marquis are her family. And I've lost my place in the notes. There we are. So a test signal has been sent to the probe. The crew eagerly anticipate a response. Nothing came back to them so far, as they have no idea how long the message will take to come through. Tuvok and Tom pick up a message now that has been sent back, and it's from the Alpha Quadrant. The wormhole does in fact lead home, so there's a great sense of urgency now in this, that before the wormhole collapses something has to be done. So the crew are now looking at establishing a voice link with the other side of the wormhole. Kes visits the captain in a ready room, and she's concerned about the doctor. She believes that the people on the ship treat him terribly, which a lot of them kind of do, and I kind of get it, but it's, 300 years in the future? 400 years? No, it's 370 something years, isn't it? 2371, is it, when Voyager began? I'd have to look that up. So yeah, lost my place again. Input algorithm not accepted. But yeah, Janeway shows the other side to Kes of the coin about the doctor. A lot of crew members have been complaining that he lacks any bedside manner and he's rude. She even states that they are considering reprogramming him, and then states also that he isn't real. But Kes thinks otherwise, and after some back and forth between the two, Janeway agrees, however, that he should be respected whether he's a hologram or not, and agrees to look into it for Kes. So they've, back on the bridge now, they kind of got the voice link set up, and Janeway speaks, and they do get a response, but it's very garbled. So they sort out the signal, they clean it up with filters and other Star Trek gubbins, and now they can distinctly hear a voice. It turns out it's a cargo vessel, apparently, which we'll later find out it isn't, but at this point it is a cargo vessel. It doesn't believe them and thinks that it's some kind of deception, and terminates the comlink. Tuvok states that it was a Romulan ship, and Janeway tells him to constantly hail the ship until they respond, which I think's pretty cool. You know, they would just pester until, what do you want? Like, picking up. So Janeway's now paying a visit to sickbay. She wants to talk to the doctor about its duties aboard the ship, and she says he is no longer just a hologram, he is a fully fledged member of the crew, and it's at this point Janeway offers her full support to the doctor. And the doctor just asks to be activated when people leave, and then Janeway offers to give him full control over being activated and deactivated. The doctor's grateful to the captain for the gesture as well. Which, I guess, you know, like, she has listened to Kes, and she's realised that even though he is a hologram, he should be treated more than that, because they're using him as more than a hologram. So Janeway is now asleep, and she's raised by Kim on the comm badge. He says the Romulan has responded. Janeway thanks the captain for his time. On the Romulan ship, she actually talks to him on a screen in her quarters, I believe, if I remember correctly. But the Romulan captain's very sceptical. Janeway explains how they got into the Delta Quadrant, but the Romulan captain's very cautious, as Romulans are, and still thinks that there may be spies on a surveillance mission. Janeway comes across very honest in this scene, you know, she just puts everything out there, all her cards on the table, and it shows her true morality, you know. She's very honest, she's very, what's the word I'm looking for, very proud, and just very forthcoming with the information when it suits her and the crew. But obviously she does help other people as well, and make some mistakes along the way, like, you know, a human would do. So Janeway says there's no way for them to communicate to Starfleet, and asks a favour of him, just to send a letter from each member of the crew to Starfleet, and obviously Starfleet would delegate the letters to be sent to the crew's families and things. So the Romulan thinks he can establish a visual link with Janeway at this point, because up until this point it's only been over audio, but it may take some time. So Janeway finds a renewed confidence that this is actually going to work, and at least the crew members' families will know that they're alive, they're not missing or dead or worse. So the link gets set up pretty quick between the two ships, and it's ready to go. It works quite well. The Romulan captain isn't familiar with Voyager's class of ship, as we will find out why later. Janeway speaks to the Romulan on a personal level. They discuss the families. They discuss each other's families. He says that he's never seen his daughter. And I've just realised that I've been calling him a Romulan captain. He's supposedly a science officer, but with Romulans you never truly know anyway, do you? So Janeway tells Chakotay to prepare the messages. B'Elanna runs on the bridge, urging to talk to Janeway in private. And she says that it may be possible to transport a crew member through the wormhole, or all the crew through the wormhole. Turns out it is possible, and Janeway tells her to make this her top priority at this point. So Kes enjoys studying and says she would love to see an autopsy sometime, which I just was totally random and seemed just really creepy for no reason. But fair enough. She says when she gets back to Earth she might want to study for a medical degree, and then it's at this point the Doctor says, well, you would probably have more medical knowledge than most people who have medical degrees back home. It turns out the Doctor can't be transported as he's fully integrated into the ship's medical bay, so the Doctor would in fact be left behind. The Doctor asks if they do go, just to make sure he's deactivated. So Janeway now updates the Romulan officer on the transport possibility. He's open to the idea, which is unbecoming of a Romulan. And they test it on a small device, so after some minor issues, like it's not going through, it ends up being successful. But the officer can't permit people being transported, but he says he is willing to transport to Voyager himself, and he says he does offer quite a good alternative. Actually, thinking about it, he says a troop ship will be sent to pick up the crew of Voyager. And turns out he is mentioned as the captain of the ship, so I did hear it right initially. He is actually the captain. So Janeway introduces officers to the Romulan. This is after he's been successfully transported over to Voyager, by the way. He's amazed and almost proud of how they've been able to transport someone through a wormhole. Tuvok has discovered something now. He asks the Romulan for the air, and it turns out the Romulan, who's just been beamed aboard the ship, is from the past. It turns out the wormhole is a rift not just in space, but in time as well. And they're demoralised, like, really good. It turns out the Romulan is actually from 20 years in the past. And it's revealed randomly that Kim is 22 years old. I think Tom and Kim were having a conversation about him being 2 years old from 20 years ago or something like that. But yeah, I worked it out. He's supposed to be 22 years old. The Romulan offers to change the timeline by alerting Starfleet to Voyager's outcome of it being sent to the Delta Quadrant from going on this mission in 20 years. But the crew decline. He states he will send a message regardless in 20 years. Janeway promises the Romulan that we'll see him when they get home. The Romulan beams back to his ship in time. So he's been sent back 20 years in the past. Tuvok then mentions that the Romulan died 4 years before Voyager actually set off, and they don't know if the messages will be sent after all. And there's a great bit of acting here. Janeway shows a wide range of emotions. Actually love Kate Mulgrew's acting as Janeway. She shows truly what a person in her position would do, I believe. She's visibly upset, but can't show it fully because she's the glue that's holding all of it together, she's the captain and things, so especially for the younger crew members, she's the glue. She informs the crew to move on and that there's a long way to go, so she's kind of holding her head up high in this scene, I suppose. Not obviously, that she's gutted herself, but she has to remain strong, she has to. So back in sickbay, the same patient is there, the one with the fractured wrist. He's got another injury this time. God knows what he was doing, just diving off the top of the warp core head first or something, I don't know. The Doctor this time sets him straight. The crew member's now respectful to him, and the Doctor, I believe at this point, is now officially a member of the crew, because it's now shown that the crew respect him. And the Doctor states he would like a name, and then basically the episode's over with. Overall, I thought the episode was pretty good. It's one of the ones I remember, but I wouldn't say it was excellent. It was definitely good, but I wouldn't say it was brilliant. There's a few things that let it down. One thing that didn't let it down, however, not one single scene with Neelix in this episode. My God, did it make a difference. And I've wrote here, so overall it's probably my favourite episode so far. I really did quite like this one, to be honest, and it shows the spectrum of emotions you can experience from the show. It's quite memorable, which I've previously said, in terms of the storyline. Not so much because of what happens, just the actual premise of the episode itself. It's a special one for me, I would say. If there was anything I would change, I would maybe not have the Romulan beam aboard. I think that could have just been done. You know, not only is he being beamed through space and time, he's been beamed 75,000 light years away, and I know that's how wormholes work. It's basically a hole in space. But I don't think they should have done it. I think there should have been some kind of like unknown distortion, which turns out to be the time difference. But I think there should have been some kind of mystery as to why nothing could have actually been transported. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone for listening once again. It's been another fun episode to do. I'm on X, I'm on YouTube, and Spotify, which you're probably listening to this on now. So this episode, I believe, is going live on the 12th of February. So if you want to just leave a 5-star review if you thought it was worth 5 stars, I've got Patreon as well if you want to have a look at that. We've got loads of competitions coming up, so if you want to be part of that, just please support me in any way you can, or give me some feedback if you think I can improve. So thanks again, guys. I will see you in, is it episode 8? I'm just going to check my notes before I go. So I know this was, this was episode 7. So next episode is Ex Post Facto, and that will be season 1, episode 8. Yep. So thanks a lot, guys, and I will see you then. Goodbye.
This has been In-Depth Trek. And transmission.